If you're a B2B aftermarket supplier, I bet you have thought about LinkedIn and how to drive revenue for your business. But a lot of the questions that we get is, how do I actually implement that? So in this video today, I'm going to show you step by step exactly how to use your employees as LinkedIn influencers in order to drive revenue for your business. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is the opportunity. So not only is LinkedIn popping off right now, but it's also got so many users and no posters. In fact, over 300 million monthly users are on LinkedIn and only 1% are actually posting. This essentially means that you've got the timeline for the taking. It's not like Instagram or Facebook where everybody's posting. Instead, LinkedIn is mainly full of lurkers that are just watching the timeline and who pops up. So if you're on there rather than your competitors, you are very highly likely to be seen because of the amount of space that is actually on LinkedIn. Now, the first thing you must know about LinkedIn is the company page versus the personal profile. Now, company pages can definitely work, but this is not the strategy that we are recommending at Madre right now. We've seen a lot more effective conversions through the personal pages. Not only do they get more reach, but typically the different networks that your employees can get allows you to diversify the audience that you have without having to get a follow on a company page, which is much harder to do. So the first thing that you need to do when we consider this is you need to get your employees buy-in. Not every employee is going to want to be a LinkedIn influencer. So it's really important that we speak to the sales team, the marketing team, the leadership team, and see who we can actually get in order to create these LinkedIn posts. Once you actually have the employees buy-in, how do you actually create high-performing posts? And this is the most important part, because if you're creating the content but nobody wants to read it, then you're not going to generate anything from LinkedIn. So the framework that we like to run with our clients is called BICEP. The B in BICEP is for brand. Now, this is where, although it's a personal page, we obviously want your brand's core values to show throughout the LinkedIn posts. So map those out and make sure that when you're creating this content, we have that lens on the posts. We then have I, which is their interests. So what makes this person different? What are their interests? What are they into? We can then talk about this inside the LinkedIn post to create stories. We then have credibility. So what exactly does this employee want to be known for? Is it as the top diagnostics person in their field? Is it as the top ADAS person in their field? Whatever it is, we need to map that credibility and the social proof as to why they actually are that person. And that links into evidence. So what they want to be known for, we need to back that up with social proof, stories, and authority. So the person that the user is actually listening to is credible. Finally, we have the personal lens. What's their story? What are things that you can move into their social posts that actually creates this personalization and this knowing, this like, and this trust between the reader and the employee? When we follow the BICEP framework, we can then move into how to actually create a post. Once we've plotted out the BICEP framework, we then essentially have individual profiles for our employees that is going to differentiate the content. The worst thing that you can do is have a load of employees post the same thing. It's monotonous, it's boring, and we know that it didn't come from their personal profile. So making these nuanced changes is how you're going to sound authentic. For example, we had an aftermarket business talk to us about how they tried to use a PR agency to create LinkedIn posts. Unfortunately, that mentality isn't quite what worked on LinkedIn. It shouldn't be about how you can brag to the person, but instead it's what value can I bring with this post from my personal lens so that you know that I am credible to talk about this. And that moves us exactly into how to then write these posts. So for any post on LinkedIn, we use the scope framework. Now, scope means S, stop the scroll. This is the hook that we use where it's 1 to 2 lines that's going to hook them in so that they're actually viewing the post. It should also not be kind of like a cliffhanger in the sense of I don't know what the rest of the post is going to be talking about. So we need to make sure that the context is correct. We then move into C, which is your contextual story. And this is where BICEP really comes in, because it means that we can create a story around the pain points of the customer that is contextual to the employee. This really upscales our LinkedIn content and positions them as an authority that has actually done the things that they are talking about. We then move into O, which is outcome or observation. This is where the employee is going to explain how the story, the outcome was your solution or an observation on how to improve this solution or come out of that pain. We then have P, which is the prompt, and this is a call to action. Now, not every post on a personal LinkedIn needs to have a call to action. However, this doesn't have to be something forthcoming. So if you were to put a prompt into every single post, then one could be a comment, one could be a question, one could be asking for a like, versus one could be comment for a landing page, which is more sales focused. We then move into E, which is exhibit. Now, this is where you want to put an image or a graphic, and what we've seen work really well is kind of more scrappier images. One maybe like a selfie or something kind of caught in the act, not super professional, to keep it kind of casual and real. This is what we have found performs best. So when you use BICEP and Scope together with your team's buy-in, you can create LinkedIn content that will generate revenue. But the main thing that you need to do is actually map this to a wider funnel. And the funnel essentially has landing pages and lead magnets that get you your customers' details as well as how to book in for the sale. Now, we've detailed a whole video on exactly how to set up this funnel so that your employees aren't faffing around trying to book calls on Calendly, but instead can plug their LinkedIn profile into your marketing campaigns. We did a whole video on exactly how to do that step by step, and you can get it by clicking the video on the screen.